All right. You are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday morning or evening, depending on the time zone where you're connecting from. And without further ado, let's introduce the topic at hand. We are going to create an MVP of a Python client that connects to Iggy. So just as a recap, Iggy is a message streaming platform, and let me just confirm that everything is up and running, which I think it's the case, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are live. Else, hello. It's awesome. Okay, so Iggy is a message streaming platform written in Rust by Piotr and a community of wonderful Rust developers. I encourage to join their Discord. Let me pull it up just so that you see. Hey, Piotr. I see that. So I encourage to join their Discord. It's a wonderful community and they are growing like crazy. They are kicking some ass. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with the end in mind here. Today we are going to end up with a working producer, with a working Iggy producer written in Python. But the dirty secret here is that it's actually mostly going to be written in Rust. So what we're going to do is we'll take the existing Rust client and just expose some bindings to Python. I already put a lot of groundwork here so that we had to ensure that we have like a smooth stream experience. So what we're going to do is let's first run the let's go ahead and run the Rust producer and consumer. And what we're going to do is we'll take a look at the Rust code and then we'll use OpenAI to generate an equivalent producer code in Python. And you'll be surprised by how good this is. Why am I doing this? I wanted to show you what you get out of the box with OpenAI. And that what we're going to do is, given the producer demo that OpenAI creates, we're going to create the underlying library that we need to support it, if it makes sense. So let's go ahead and run everything, like all the Rust code first. Okay, so here I have my producer and consumer written in Rust. And if you follow my channel, probably this is very familiar to you. So this is literally just following the tutorial that the wonderful Iggy team put together. So let's go ahead and run all of this. So to run the server, to just use the docker run command. And then let's run the producer. Okay, so we are going to run the producer code. So we're sending messages. And then on a separate terminal, we run the consumer code. And we are receiving all the messages. So, wonderful. Now, we're going to replace the Rust producer by a Python producer. And to accomplish this, we'll just take the producer code, just straight from the documentation. Just take it. We're going to put it on OpenAI. Full disclosure, I did this morning to ensure that we had like a smooth stream experience, but let's see what we get. So we are going to say, translate these to Python. Assume that you have a working Iggy library. All right. So we just paste the producer and let's see what happens. Oh, I see. So Piotr is saying that, by the way, in one of the latest versions, we added required auth. So keep that in mind, that in recent versions, you need to log in. Yeah, that's great. I actually love that the default requires authentication. So perfect. Let's see what we got here. So we see that the translation is pretty decent. It makes use of async IO, which is the right thing to do. And I feel that overall that the API calls were translated correctly. So this is wonderful. I know for a fact that I don't have this pip package, so I'll just say use print statements instead of the login library. I think it's like a third-party library, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. All right, wonderful. So let's create, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new, you know what, I'll just put it in here. I'll create my producer.py, and what I'm going to do is I'll take the output from OpenAI, just put it here, and what I'm going to do is we're going to start building this client, and I'm going to comment the stuff that I know won't work at first. So pretty much all of this. So what we end up with is just an Iggy client that we need to create. So let's go ahead and create the Iggy client. I'm just going to change the constructor a little bit. So let's make this our first goal. We want to create an empty Iggy client. All right. So just to back up for a second, we generated our producer code out of the Rust example, and now we're actually going to create the Python client. So let's start a new, you know what, this is perfectly fine. We're going to create a new maturing project. So maturing is the library that we are going to use to generate our Python code. All right. So we can create Python bindings for so with maturing we can create Python bindings for a Rust crate, which is exactly what our use case is. I already installed maturing, so we're going to just create a new maturing project. All right, and we'll do it right here. So let me just look at the string, make sure that I am on the right folder. This is a prior project I had. Yeah, here, perfect. So maturing new iggy py. How about that? It's going to use pyo3. Let's open the generated code. All right, so we get like a template with a couple of things configured for us, like a Python cargo package called iggy_py that contains a Rust function that is exposed to Python. And this is great, but we are not going to expose a Python function. We are going to expose a Python class. So here's how you go about that. Let's create a class, a file called client, and we are going to create a struct called iggy client that is going to have an inner reference to the Rust iggy client. So that's, you'll see that I'm going to do this trick in a few spots, but I want you to know that my goal is to create a very thin Python wrapper around the existing Rust library. So for this to work, we need to install the iggy client. So we'll just take it straight from, oh, I see. So Piotr, thank you for the heads up. I see that you updated the crate. So what I'm going to do is, because I know that authentication will be needed and all that, I'm just going to use the previous version of the crate. So I'm going to, instead of using the latest greatest, I'm going to use 85, I think, whatever, like a slightly older version. This is from this build is from a couple of days ago. Actually, let me see what I'm using here. 84. All right, let's use 84 then. And what I'm going to do is to use iggy. Do you see what I'm doing? I am just going to use the Rust iggy client, but I'm going to rename it so that I can still use iggy client for my Python bindings. I don't know, I think it's kind of a cool trick. And I'm going to say that this is a Py class. And by using this derive macro, Py03 magically is going to generate a bunch of Python code for us. Now we need to create a constructor. Yeah, well, unsurprisingly, GitHub Copilot was able to create the constructor. And what I want to do is, this is the bare minimum. Going back to our producer, let's make sure that we at least can create a client. All right. So let's compile this project. Oh, right. I didn't expose it. So what I forgot to tell you is that every time you want to expose a class or a method or something to Python, you need to do it in the library. So we don't need this. This is like a hello world example. What we do want is the client that we just created. So we need to create the module first. Client, Rusty client. I think it's called add class. Add class of type Rusty client. Is this how we do it? Let's see. I'm going to pull my notes because, as I mentioned, I already spent some time this morning looking at this. Right. So we don't want to expose the Rust iggy client. We want to expose the iggy client. Iggy sense. Let's stop Rust Analyzer because it's a little bit slow. And just to recap, we just want to make sure that we can create an Iggy client object from Python. All right. Looking good. Hopefully. Almost there. The trait PyClass is not implemented for Iggy client. And that's because I forgot an import. Yeah, I always forget the input, but you need to add if you don't add this import here, it won't work. Unresolved import. No Iggy client. Okay, so this import is wrong. Luckily, I have my cheat sheet right here. Iggy, oh yeah. Iggy client. Is it just me or there's a little bit of confusion over here? We'll see. Okay, we need to get the default. So this is the default constructor. Hey, the AI was wrong. Never trust the AI completely. So I'm going to remove, because I played this morning with this project. I need to make sure that I remove or uninstall pip3 uninstall iggy. Right. Why did I have to do this? Because this morning I got it to work. So you need to uninstall all pip packages to install the new ones. I hope it makes sense. Now we need to install this pip that we just built. So pip install, yeah, right, pip3. All right, sweet. So what we did is we created a Python wheel with our new Iggy client, and then we install it. So now if we go back to our producer, we should be able to read it from here. So if we just say Python 3 producer, well, it didn't scream at us. So that means that it was able to import Iggy client and to create it. One thing I want to mention is notice how I'm using this macro to create the default constructor. This is very, very relevant. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to connect to the cluster. At the end of the day, I don't want to use async IO like OpenAI suggested. But just to start simple, I'm just going to create, instead of using async IO on Python, I am going to create the Tokyo runtime within the Iggy client, and then I'm just going to use it. Why? Because as you'll see, binding to async IO is actually pretty messy. So I want to start simple, and then we'll make it great. We'll make it all asynchronous and so on. But yeah, this is just an effort to start small. Okay, let me see what's the greatest version of Tokyo. I think they are on like Tokyo. Okay, 132. Cool. Let's use that. 132. As I mentioned, we are going to create the runtime here. Well, we don't need to put the whole path. we can just import use Tokyo runtime, right? And here in the constructor, we are going to create the runtime. This is not the constructor that I want. The constructor that I want, I you know, probably it doesn't matter how many threads I use for now. Boom, this works. So what this will do, it will use as many threads as your OS, as your computer has cores. So if you have 10 cores, it will just use 10 threads or 10 worker threads. And that works for us. So we are going to store the runtime into the client. All right, let me look at the chat if there are any questions. All right, so I'm looking at I'm sorry, I'm going to say it wrong, but Hapsia is saying it's also really good to point the ChatGPT to act as a perfectionist dev and tell it to make perfect idiomatic Python code with respectable standards, following modern solutions, error handling, etc. etc. Yeah, that's a great point, Hapsio. We want to make sure that the Python bindings are usable by Python developers, that they don't feel alienated by the crate. So for sure, let's create our connect method here. So let's see how I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about this, but okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to create the future of the connect here. So connect future, right? Here's my connect future, and then I'm going to schedule it. I think that's it. Let me look at my notes. Well, actually, we need to await. Well, we never called await, so that's not great. Py result, okay. All right, yeah, I know what's going on. So the connect method is actually in a trait. Like I think Piotr mentioned that we need to bring a few traits into the file so that we get all these methods. I think this is it. Let's see. All right, so we cannot use question mark operator because this does not return like an anyhow of result. We actually need to handle the result by hand. So I think if we just await, we should be fine. Await. Oh, right. We need to async. Let me just spell all the code before just trying to compile super fast. All right. I think this should work. Fair enough. Sure, we need to import the builder. Yeah, the reason why I disabled Rust Analyzer is because it fights with Maturin. All right. Okay. Let's give it a second for the compiler to compile. I'm going to look at the chat. So let me just ask, are you guys following along? We'll see. All right, so I realize we are not handling the errors for now, but as I mentioned, I wanted to make a quick stream, just very MVP, just get it to work, get it to work, or as we call it, water through pipes. I had to remove it and then I'm pretty sure there's a better way. So basically every time I compile a new Python library, I uninstall the previous one. I think there's a way to automate this, but I'm not sure how to do it, but that's all right. So let's see if it even works. All right, so it does work. Now, if everything is connected properly, we should see the connection attempts in our server, right? So we have our server running. Now, let me just create a new terminal next to this. Exactly. Right, so Python 3 producer, there you go. So we can see that a new client connects to the server, but it's immediately deleted. And the reason is that we are exiting immediately after connecting. So what we could do, let's just keep the runtime busy by calling produce messages on an infinite loop. And we are going to comment a bunch of code here. So we don't need all of this. Right, this is just Rust. Now this is iggy client. Right, so now we are keeping the loop alive with this infinite while true. Hey, we have a connection. We're done. I'm just kidding. So today I'm planning to take it all the way to being able to produce messages. So we'll create a topic and then we'll start sending some messages. And then we'll call it a day. All right. So let's move on to the next method. All right. So after creating the connection, the next step is to initialize the system. Again, I know that ideally we want to use the async.io runtime, but for simplicity, today I'm just going to use a blocking call. All right, so we're going to create stream, remove the async.io stuff. And I want to make a decision here. And hey, on the PR, you guys let me know, but I feel that it's more idiomatic to remove this extra layer. So to me, this is like some sort of like case class. Well, it's a struct, but this nesting of a method called create stream and then a struct called create string within it. from a Python standpoint, it just creates a little bit of noise for me. So I'm going to remove it for the time being. And the next message will be to create the topic. So I'm going to do the same thing, remove that like second nested. We have a method call, and then we have like a struct within the method call. So I remove the struct. All right, so let's create two methods, create stream and create topic. And they are going to work exactly like the connect method, meaning we're going to create methods here to create the stream. So create stream. I'm not sure if it's a mutable method, hopefully not. And we need like a stream ID of type U32 and a stream name. Create stream ID and name. Cool. Stream ID and name. And then the GitHub Copilot tries to figure out what you're trying to do. So it correctly identified that we are trying to call the create stream method, but it didn't figure out that there's a struct that is passed as the parameter to create stream. So let's help the AI here. So create stream command, I think it is called. So create stream, and I think it takes these parameters, and after that you can go ahead and actually call create stream with this pass by reference. Does this even compile? Let's take a look. I'm the king of small typos, so I'm confident I'm missing something, but that's okay. Man, Rust Analyzer is so slow. Have you guys tried the IntelliJ Rust IDE? Do you guys recommend that? Let me know in the comments. By the way, if there are any issues with the stream, let me know, because I want you guys to have a good experience here. You know what? I think I'm going to pull it with my... Nah, you know, it's all right. Okay, so we were able to create stream. The compiler seems happy. I'm just going to maturing build. Make sure that it is really compiling. For me, Rust Analyzer, so Cookma is saying that Rust Analyzer is slow and sad. It is slow, it is sad, it's bad. I bet you that the Rust Foundation is diverting their resources to just support IntelliJ. Rust. Okay, so it's Rust Rover, sorry. It's pretty good, but it's very slow. Yes, Piotr, that's what I was going for. Just make sure that the code was very similar. That's I didn't want to reinvent the wheel or anything. So it means a lot that so far you're agreeing with that. I appreciate that. Okay, so we created the stream. Now I could like compile and run again. I could compile the Python library and run it again, but I'm kind of cheating because I did this morning, so I know that's going to work. So just to make sure that you guys have a great experience, I'm going to speed run this and create the create topic method. All right, let's do it. So create topic. And by the way, obviously, this code will change. It's just inevitable. But, you know, I wanted to start with something. Which arguments do we need? So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments. What's the type of message expiry? We'll see. So, but ideally there are 5 arguments. So stream ID, topic ID, partitions, count, name, and message expiry. So for now, I am going to leave message expiry as none, just to move fast, because I'm extremely self-conscious that, you know, when the videos start to get slow and you're like messing around, like it's just not a great viewing experience. So I want to be conscious of that. All right. So I know I'm hard coding this. We'll come back to it. Is that it? Did the AI actually figure it out? I mean, it makes sense. It's roughly the same shape than the previous command. But to me, it's fascinating that things just kind of work. Let's see. So I think it's a good place to actually test. Because, you know, Python, you know, I don't trust it. I just need to run things. All right. All right. Let's go, compiler. You can do it. All right. Oh, okay. Forgot to bring in this trait, I think. All right. Yes, I need to cast the stream ID and the topic ID. That's all right. Let's do it. So create topic. So we're going to say identifier numeric stream ID, and then probably we need to import this guy. You know what? Rust Analyzer is so slow that I can import this on my own. Thank you so much, Rust Analyzer. Try next time. You can do it. Is my face covering the terminal all along? Wouldn't be great. No, okay. It's all right. It's all right. Did it compile the thing? Okay, do I need to unwrap it? Unwrap. There you go. We'll deal with failure later. Okay, fine. So now we are going to peep 3, remove iggy, and then reinstall it. All right, now let's run the Python code. Okay, let me rerun the server so that I can recreate the topic. Boom. I think this stops the server. Starting the server, starting the client, the producer. Okay, so it says that both the stream and the topics already existed. Do we trust it? I don't know. Maybe. I thought that killing the server will cause it to recreate them, but you know, maybe I'm wrong. So let's move on to the next thing, which is, hold on, no. Let's not do that. I want to see if the topic was created or not. So let's look at the exception here. Just actually print. I want to print the exception. Is that how you do it? Yeah. There you go. So the exception was something else. It's just you can't trust Python. That's so it says that the create topic does not exist. So the method did not carry over somehow. That's okay. So create topic. We know we exposed it. Let me go ahead and uninstall it. All right, uninstalled. I'm going to build again. Build immediately. And now I'm concerned that here, maybe I passed the wrong path. Iggy is already installed. That's actually bad. Now it is uninstalling it. You see, that's how they get you. That's how they get you. Aha. Now I got the bad argument. Message expiry. Because we said we were going to hard code it. Hey. Topic was created, stream was created. Now, okay, now I'm sure that we actually created both the stream and the topic. So, I hate Python. It's terrible. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but like all these runtime errors are dumb. Obviously, in Rust, these are all compiler errors, but you know, I do feel that creating a library for Python will open up the customer base for iggy, so that's why I decided to take on this task. So now that we know that both methods, the create topic and create stream methods, are working, we can actually create the third method, which is send message. Send message is a little bit complex, but let's do it. So I'm just going to look at the Python that was generated, and we are going to actually, we will have to create two methods. The first method is the send messages, and the second method is a message class in Rust that then we expose to Python. So let's get it done. Let's start by creating the message class. So we know it's going to be a Py class, and then it's going to be a public struct message that, oh yeah, exactly, that it's just a wrapper for the Rust library. Come on, you can do it, Copilot. So I know that Copilot can help you to import this. Well, maybe it won't. We'll see. And here we want to include the message module. And we want to use Pyo3. I was like, why is type completion not working? Oh, because I keep turning it off to make the compiler faster. Well, it is what it is. Now, to wrap message properly. Okay, so this one is tricky. This one, I think this is actually very useful. We need to find a way to create messages from a string, similarly to what we do in Python. What? You're trying too hard, Copilot. So this is actually not how we want to create new messages. We want to just pass a string to it. So we want to pass a string, and then we want to call the existing, there's some method that you guys build in Iggy to create Rust messages. So it's called Rust message from stir, and we just pass a stir to it. This can fail, I acknowledge that, and we just wrap the Rust message. Same pattern, use Iggy messages, send messages, message as Rust message. Make sense? Let me take a look at the stream to see if there are any questions. Right, let me know in the comments if you know something is not making sense, or if you have some thoughts into how I'm wrapping the Rust library. Also, we need to import the from stir trait so that this actually works. And yeah, I'm happy with this. This looks good. Cool. Now we need to create the method in the client to receive messages. So send messages, and it takes self, obviously, as the parameter, then the stream ID, topic ID, partitioning, and messages. So this one is okay. This one is tricky because I want to be able to do this, pass a vector of PyList. No, a vector of messages. This is what I would like to do, and then have Pyo3 figure out how to convert between Python and Rust. But the best I could do was to say, you're going to receive a list, and that what we're going to have to do by hand, which I'm not thrilled about. We're going to have to translate or convert the messages from Python to Rust on our own, which I have obviously mixed feelings about. I'm not sure what. Sure, go home, Copilot. You're drunk. Okay, so this is what I meant. Here we need to transform we need to read the py list and get a list of messages. So messages, we'll need an iterator, and then we need to map each message, but not as a string. Instead, we need to map it as a message. So nice try, Copilot, but not quite. So we need to extract a message. And then we want to collect everything as a vector. As a result of vector. This is a little bit wonky, this type over here. So result of vector of some type. So underscore, and then collect a result of vector. All right. Yeah, we need to also capture the error. So result of vector, and then any error that you can get here. This is fine. It doesn't know what message is probably. Message. Import message from self. It doesn't know what a py list is. What else? What else do you need to know? What py's result is? That's right. We are going to, at the end of the day, just return OK, just to make the types happy. Oh, right now I know what it is. So this is the magic that transforms a Python object into a Rust object. But I think I didn't import message into the module yet. So let me just do that. And then it will stop complaining. Add class, : message. Use message. Nice. Okay, is it a little bit happier? It's not, but that's okay. Trust me, it will be happy at some point. So now we have, so transform the Python list into a Rust vector. Awesome. But now we need to transform those messages to, so transform. All right. Thank you, AI. Transform the Rust vector into a vector of iggy message. And I think this is for the most correct. So I'm just going to give the right type here. Into iter. So messages into iter. And then we're going to map each message. And we are going to extract the inner element out of it. It doesn't know what the Rust message is, but that's okay, because that's an alias that I created myself. And I'm just going to shamelessly copy from my notes. And that should be good. And finally, we are going to call the sent messages within the Rust library. So send message future equals to self inner send messages. Oh, sorry, we need to first create the actual send messages command. Send messages command, which is send messages. It figured it out for the most, but it needs a couple of, yeah, there you go. Send messages command, pass by reference or borrow. And we need to schedule this in a future. Happy? Partition ID. Okay, it doesn't know which message I'm referring to. Messages, plural. I have a feeling that the Rust analyzer is a little bit confused, or I'm probably missing an import, because I'm pretty sure that I already defined how to go from a Python object to a Rust object. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. So let's try to compile this and see if we get some useful errors. All right, these cannot throw an error, so that's all right. What's the problem here? Expected mutable, fine. There you have your mutable. This is going to fail because we already fixed 2 typos, so let's build again. Let's go. Transform the Rust vector into a vector of iggy message. Wouldn't it be great if it just works? But we know it won't. We know I'll have to come back and edit something else, and then it will work. Do it. You can do it. That's the one thing about Rust. It's just so slow to compile. Ah, I see. So I need to implement a clone for message for this mapping to work. I think for this. That's okay. I need to implement it by hand, I think, because inner does not implement clone. So I cannot just do this. This won't work. So I'm pretty sure that what I have to do is to call the from string. So Rust message from string. Exactly. Yes, this is exactly what I need. Hey, it just built. That's awesome. Okay, so now we're going to test from Python. So on install. All right, let's install the new version. All right, I'm just checking that it was actually installing and uninstalling. So now I should be able to uncomment all of this, and we'll actually see the working producer. So we need to import a few classes. We remove this identifier stuff. Oh yeah, we are not using async await for now. All right, so let's import message. And this should just work. Oh yeah, we called the constructor something else. I think we just call it like this. All right, so we are sending messages, allegedly. So let's start the Rust consumer and see if we can actually receive the messages. Where's our Rust consumer? I'm just going to split this into 3. Can I do this? So I have this terminal here. Split. All right, cool. All right. Cargo run consumer, I think. So I'm sending messages from Python. If I can receive them from Rust, it means that we have a working client. We'll see. So Python, Rust, and here we have the server. All right, almost there. I'm not seeing any output, but that might be just the log level. Rust log info, maybe. Hey, what you know? We're receiving messages. So this means that we're in business. So what we achieved today is we built a working proof of concept of an iggy client used to create streams, topics, and to produce messages. So this is freaking awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know with your like and your comments if you like this kind of setup versus the shorts and versus the long form videos. I want to make more content like this if there's an appetite for it. If there's not, then I'll just do something else. So thank you so much for your support. Piotr, Hapsio, Kukma, everyone that joined, you guys rock. Also Karim. Oh, Bartosz. So you guys rock. See you on Discord. You guys rock. Have a great Sunday. Bye.